LP08.2 Final Exam, U.S. Courts. Why does someone become a public defender? There's three parts to this answer. One, the law. The few civil attorneys have the opportunity to see the core constitutional values of work. Public defenders have the responsibility to protect them every day. Freedom against unreasonable search and seizure, the right to counsel, to remain silent, a speedy trial, a jury trial. These are inherent in every criminal case. Our forefathers established them, and the public defender protects them. We're talking blood of the defendant and guts of the Constitution. That's got to feel good, or at least more moving than a contract dispute. Second slide talks about the trial. Lawyers are instinctively that real lawyers go to court. Of course, they're worthy workers of the office. But it's like the difference between English solicitors and barristers. Barristers wear wigs. The mantle of a trial lawyer is significant for a few reasons. And it is one of the main reasons that lawyers go to the public defender's office, to get trial experience. They may try hundreds of cases before new civil attorneys try one. And the last part is satisfaction. It says poor lawyers are the happiest. I know it doesn't make sense, but there it is. According to a survey of more than 6,000 lawyers, attorneys who made the least amount of money reported to be the most happiest. It is something to do with being on a mission, feeling good about helping the indigent or fighting for civil rights. While we're in this portion, we want to talk about one of the options that I chose was option 3. And I watched the movie, My Cousin Vinny. And as we looked at the movie and you looked at the public defender, he looked the part. He sounded the part when he was talking to the defendant. However, when it was time to come before the court, and with all the people in front of him, he froze. I don't know if it was because of the inexperience. Well, he did say he's getting better at it. So the inexperience of law, the inexperience of having a team to be able to work the issues for him. It's all to do with the experience. And I think that lawyers that do become public defenders do make great lawyers due to the fact that they get more experience than others. Which is the better criminal justice model? Criminal justice model or due process? I say the due process model. It focuses on having a just and fair criminal justice system for all. It's a system that does not infringe upon the constitutional rights. This model would argue that the system would be more like an obstacle course rather than an assembly line. And the protection of the individual rights and freedoms is the utmost importance and often be aligned more with the liberal perspective. And it continues, the criminal justice should concentrate on the defendant's right, not the victim's right, because the Bill of Rights expressly provides the protection of the defendant's rights. The government should hold a person's guilty solely on the shouldn't hold a person guilty solely on the basis of facts. A person should be found guilty only if the government follows the legal procedure in its fact finding. The peer-reviewed journal Scholarity article, which talks about the article I chose was the due process and fundamental rights. The article talks about the Supreme Court and its substantial due process. It speaks of two cases, Troxel v. Granville and Steinberg versus Carthart. It speaks of enormous issues of misinterpretation, possibility of the Constitution and the rule of law. In the Troxel versus Gainesville, it speaks of the grandparents who wanted to sue for visitation rights, which was the law in the state of Washington. However, through research and understanding of the Constitution, ended up to oppose the state law because the actual rights actually belong to the parents, not to the people who are the grandparents or outside relatives. In the Steinman versus Carr, how he talks about the abortion and how the state laws of partial abortions. It also says that no one had ever heard of partial abortions laws, and wasn't most people. The author of the article was not very up on the abortion laws. However, the judge refers back. All the justices refer back to the most famous case of Roe versus Wade, which was the law of the land. In both cases, it happened several different opinions. In this case, there happened to be several different opinions of each case, and had separate different opinions wrote on. Why are innocent wrongly convicted? To answer this question, I revert back to the same slide from the mid, which consists of cutting corners. I did add a couple. It says, due to extensive workload. When you're talking about public defenders, you're talking about an workload. Sometimes, depending on how many public defenders they have, it's depending on how many cases that they have. The inexperience of the public defender. If it's a new public defender coming in, and they do not have the opportunity to use what they have, or don't understand what they have and how to use or get to the results that they need with the people that they need. And finally, the continued incarceration while trial process. Instead of being able to be bonded out or bailed out or under your own recognizance while the trial is going on, most of the time the defendant is held in jails, and having to work through either phones or visitation in order to get the information that's needed, or be able to collaborate with their public defender or attorney. Why do most defendants accept a plea bargain? For the simple fact of the risk. They don't want to take the risk. They don't want the risk of losing due to an opinionated fact, or the wrong fact finding, or no fact finding, period. Cut the losses, whether guilty or innocent, and then the stigma. The biggest one, like I said, is the stigma. No one can beat the feds. Though the understanding that the federal government is always almighty and all-knowing, versus understanding and trusting in your attorney or in the process itself. The process doesn't always work, is what we hear, or we don't trust the process because it's stacked against us. And here are our references. We have the textbook, we have the Cliff Notes on the blog, public, and then we have the actual article.